Evening, good day, good afternoon. Welcome to In Cadence, Season 1, Episode 17. Chishisha 2. Pax who are on the show today with me. I'm Keith. 44. Goon. Pax call me Flea.
Yes, they do. And we need some form of pickle pounder moment here. And you know what? Yesterday, when it was your actual birthday, I was like, we've got to find something. I even put a post out on Slack saying, come on, boys, how do we celebrate this? And I don't really think Scrubs and I should sing. I mean, sorry to cast aspersions on your singing voice.
I don't think you've heard me in full voice yet. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I couldn't guarantee the result. But anyway, massive congratulations to you, Flea.
Should we finish the name around first, then come to the festivities after?
Absolutely.
Come on. Okay, fair enough. Hi, I'm Ken. I'm 51, and in the gloom, Pax call me Shredder. And our epic guest is...
I'm Will Niven, 45. I ain't got no scrubs, so I'm erstwhile, actually XQ, AOQ of the Boundary in Rudgwick, Surrey. And thank you for having me on the show tonight.
Great to have you on. So, XAOQ. There's lots of stuff to unpack tonight with you, Scrubs. Should we start with some cheese and chocolate? You up for that, Flea?
That's a good starting point. Yeah.
Did you get chocolate cake for your birthday yesterday?
Well, yes, I did. My very kindly made me a mini egg chocolate crispy cake. One of these viral ones that's going around at the moment on TikTok and the like. And I love crispy chocolate cakes. It's one of my real problems I have. And mini eggs is also on that same list as well. So a combination of the two was dangerous. She made a rather big, like 30 centimeter, 12-inch big chocolate crispy cake with loads of mini eggs, smashed mini eggs on top. Yeah, still working on it.
That's good.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many other packs have managed to join in the festivities of eating that bad boy?
Well, I did take 5 portions this morning. I tried giving it away, and it's still some left. Oh, it's big.
I was just thinking about like the Henry VIII's wives, and I was thinking that sounds like one you'd behead a cake like that. It sounds very, very tasty. Right, well, let's do some cheese or chocolate then, because I can't. I've had my Ninja ice cream tonight. I had pumpkin spice latte flavor, but I'm drooling now. So I've got some, and this is kind of festive, not festive, partly festive, but on point here because of Flea's birthday. Gobs, would you choose cheese or chocolate? Is where we give you the 2 options, and you have to pick one. And you can tell us why if you want. You'd pick that one over the other. It's entirely up to you. And I'm going to start off with picking between birthday and Christmas. So what would you pick?
I think probably birthday. Yeah.
Mint sauce or horseradish?
Horseradish, definitely.
With beef or with anything else?
Well, I think horseradish has got versatility. To be honest with you, I think I'd smack it in there with a bit of lamb, bit of pork, bit of beef. I'm not particularly partial to any of the. I mean, horseradish has just got that kind of mustardy tanginess, doesn't it? So I would definitely I'd be up for that. Enjoy the range. I mean, I think horseradish has got kind of complexity to it. So I think that's probably why I go for horseradish.
I banged it on some chicken this week.
Did you? Nice one.
Yeah. Like some chicken, some green veg, and I really like stuffing. No jokes. Haven't got time. But yeah.
I wonder if you could like do it with a horseradish mayo. Well, there's a thought.
Well, Flea highly recommended horseradish with smoked salmon, and the next day I went out. I had to get a big pack because I thought if you're going to test it, you got to get a decent amount. And I like the spicy food, and I just smashed that all over the smoked salmon, and it was wicked.
I think it would actually have been part of a Seder plate for Passover in the Hebrew tradition. So I think horseradish is one of the things that you have on a Seder plate for Passover.
Okay.
So it's actually its history goes back a long way. I mean, we think it's part of kind of traditional British fare. I stand under correction over there. Anyway, my kids have got a story about a guy who goes on a train to Jerusalem, and on the way he basically picks up kind of various things for his Seder plate, and then he brings back a whole bunch of flatbread or whatever it's called now, matzah crackers for everyone else. But he gets on the way he kind of trades matzah for I don't know, I can't remember, horseradish, parsley, pickled eggs, various other sort of things. And so but yeah, anyway, completely random and irrelevant fact, but there you go.
Had it made fresh once in New Zealand, of all places. We had a Hawaiian Filipino chef, and he made it fresh with proper horseradish root. And again, that was extra. That was very good. See, we're getting the information out now. This is where it starts. Ding! Everybody on, wake up! It's time to go. Scrubs is in the house. How about this one? And this could be a nil point, but Gryffindor or Slytherin?
Gryffindor. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. You heard it first.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get the twist at the end of book 7 around Slytherin not being that bad and actually having virtues, but no, Gryffindor. My 6-year-old boy has just kind of gone through all of them, and yeah, we're definitely a Gryffindor household.
Have you done the tests? You know, where you test your house?
I haven't tested my house, and actually, that's a really great thing. I think that's one of those things which probably will come. Yeah, there'll be really some pop psychology behind that. Have you done it?
Yeah. I'm a Ravenclaw, though.
I was going to say, are you just the gut intuition would be a Ravenclaw for yourself? Yeah.
Got some Slytherin tendencies.
Yeah.
You know.
Really, Shredder? Flea?
Hufflepuff.
You're a Hufflepuff.
No
I
way.
don't know what that means. I don't know what I remember doing it once, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. And it's that long ago since I've read any of it or even watched the films. I forgot what it means, but I just remember Hufflepuff was the dominant house on the test.
My wife and daughter are both Hufflepuffs, and essentially that just means that you're all too nice.
Yeah, okay, that fits.
Well,
there you go.
I mean, I don't know what that says about you.
Look, I'm not in my job because I'm nice. Sometimes I'm nice. Sometimes I'm nice. Sometimes it's a bit like that kind of air spray. Sometimes the people are like, unleash the shredder. Yeah, well, you know, it's not about me. It's about you, Scrubs. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, well.
Keep going then, Flea. Give us another one.
Yeah, next question. Pickled onion or pickled eggs?
Well, pickled onion, I think, because it goes with cheese. And I do love a bit of cheese on hot white bread. Pickled onion. Yeah, I think I don't know. Yeah, that would definitely be me.
Pickled eggs go with the door, don't they? You can have a pickled egg and then you can leave. Do you like pickled eggs, Flea?
I can't say I've ever. I think I've probably had one. I must have had one at some point, but it's that long ago that I can't remember when.
Yeah.
So no, I wouldn't have them occasionally.
I feel like it's a low bar of the use of the almighty egg. You know, egg is a pretty, like, you know, you asked last episode, Shed, the question about kind of the elite way to eat potato.
Yes.
I think you could do the same with an egg. So what is your top use of an egg? You'd be scrambled, right?
I do like scrambled eggs. However, I'm going to Japan on holiday this year. So I've been watching a lot of the videos where they make omu rice eggs, where it's like a really fancy scrambled egg with chopsticks in the pan. And then it's still very, very runny on the inside, but it's like perfectly cooked on the outside. They put it on top of the rice and then cut it and it flops out all up. That for me is going to be first on the menu when I get to Japan. So yes, scrambled eggs would be definitely there. Yeah.
Is that funny egg thing something you've had?
I've not had it yet.
No, Scrubs. Because I just saw a little bit of drool come down one of his cheeks.
You know what I think it is? It's the craft and the trade of watching these guys with it's the skill of it's the dexterity with which they mix it. And then they have those two kind of, I can't remember what they're called. They look like kind of little spatula, and the noise and it's the sort of, I guess it's the sort of sensation overload because your eyes are watching, you're hearing it, you're almost feeling that heat. And then that kind of trick at the end when they cut it open and it just sort of spills. And there's just, I don't know, there's something about the respect for the egg, you know, that is implicit within that whole routine. And it's a celebration. I'm with you on that one. I think that's a fantastic idea. You enjoy that egg when you get to Japan, Flea.
They also respect a lot the fish as well. So sushi, the art of sushi is something you train for, something you get respect for, building up, improving yourself. And again, it's that discipline and the respect and treating the food so meticulously and serving it meticulously. It's such an art. I'm super excited to see it for real life.
I was actually reading today about this rice that they bury in Japan, and essentially what they do is they select the best grains, and then they put them in clay pots with layers of ash in between. They seal the jar with wax, and then they bury it 2 meters down. So at that sort of level, the temperature is completely, it's set. And they will bury them for up to 100 years. So the rice is buried, and then when it comes out, anaerobic conditions under which they've stored the rice has degraded some of the starch. So it's particularly creamy and delicious, and it matures over that period of time. And there are a few things about that I think are incredible. Firstly, how did that art form get discovered? It's intergenerational knowledge, right? But it's also intergenerational generosity. So there is a sense within that you've seen these really kind of premium grains of rice, and you've said, I'm not going to eat them. My children aren't going to eat them. My grandchildren aren't going to eat them, but possibly my great-grandchildren will have this feast. So what they do is they know the locations, and these kind of, as a family, you bring out the aged rice. And in the last couple of years, they basically did it it was 220 years old, and they brought this rice out, and it was still perfect, delicious. And isn't that just amazing? I think it's just, it's special.
Wow, that is amazing. That I'm like gobsmacked.
Yeah, I want to try it now.
I assume, you can't put a price on it, you see, because
No.
how is there any kind of commercial value in carrying out that practice? That's just a celebration of food and posterity that you can't set a value on. You wouldn't sell it because it's meant to be brought out at special occasions. So it's brought out for weddings and for great life events. They've tried to simulate it, obviously, by doing you can do it, and you can do it for sort of 10, 20 years, but it's still not quite the same because the anaerobic conditions to break down that rice, it does take that long. It's not 100 years out of coincidence. That's how long it takes.
Shredder, would you eat a tin of baked beans that you found 2 meters underground in London?
No. But I'm just thinking about that though, because some of us can't remember where we put our keys an hour ago, and I'm always getting teased in the house for the fact that I don't look for my phone anymore. I just ping it on my watch, but knowing where you've done that and making a deliberate intention, it's kind of, you might do it with photo albums, or obviously we're not a big traditional oral history culture in the West, or many Western places aren't. Some things travel through family stories, but yeah, I think there's lots of things that you see about the Japanese culture where you go, they have an intentionality that perhaps we've lost track with. Even simple things like train seats. I've seen little video clips where they say there's no seats backwards because they just move them. They transition backwards and forwards depending on the direction. I'm like, isn't that brilliant? In New Zealand, I remember going to, I think the word they use is a hangi, where they make the food pit in the ground, and they dig the pit out and they fill it with sweet potato and lamb and cabbage, and they bury it all up and whack a massive fire on it. And again, phenomenal. But that's kind of thoughtful, but for tomorrow, or next week, that's a different level, isn't it?
Can you imagine getting shouted by the M saying, quick, the parents are coming round, go and dig up that rice from the corner of the garden that you've got?
I'm not going to lie. It would really focus your mind when you prepared something like that. I would want to put 2 jars there just in case, because you wouldn't want to wait that long. I always notice that when people spend a lot of money on an expensive bottle of whiskey or wine that's quite old, there's a chance when you get to it, it may not be all that, but people prize those things. But like you said, Scrubs, it's not easy to put a monetary term on that. I've written down that as well. Intergenerational generosity.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Japanese proverb that goes, "Blessed are those who plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit." And I think it's the same kind of principle over there. And we talk about it around. I mean, it's the fourth quadrant, isn't it? Legacy.
Mm.
So, what kind of legacy? Because the legacy is not necessarily something that you're going to see the fruit of, either sort of now in your. I guess we talk about. I mean, you may well see kind of the fruit of your legacy, and that's a great blessing if you do. But the point behind it is never that you are waiting to see the results of that legacy, because it is intangible. And in many respects, the positivity and the seeds that we sow into other men's life in F3 may go on and cascade that piece of wisdom, that kindness in that moment may be transferred, 10, 15 years down the line. People may remember those moments in which we've reached out and been kind, and you will never see the results of that. So yeah, it's a lesson for us in the I think the word you used there, Shredder, was intentionality. So being intentional about what we do, how we talk, how we conduct ourselves, how we plant seeds in other people's lives, how we nurture it, and how we become non-proprietorial around the results. We're not planting it for our own sake. We're planting it for the sake of doing it, because it's the right thing.
The concept of living third that we're encouraged to have in F3. When in one of the Whetstone podcasts, when Dredd was talking with Dark Helmet and Plague about leaders, and he says something like, there's many, many types of leader, but unless they're servants, they're not leaders. That really connects in, doesn't it? That sense of saying, well, if I'm going to lead, then I do need to serve. And it is natural, if you're going to serve, to recognize that you are living not first. And that's quite countercultural to the expectation of many leaders and the responsibilities of many leaders nowadays, to give good dividends, to look good. So many bad leading ideas in our modern culture.
It's fantastic. We've been talking about some really highbrow and some intergenerational respect and all of that sort of stuff. So that being said, Kylie or Dani?
Kylie. Yeah.
Right.
Controversial.
Good night. Thanks for coming to Cadence. Bye. Squats or lunges?
Lunges, give them all. Yeah, lunges.
Cowabungas or 11s?
11s. Yeah, it just always delivers a burn, doesn't it? It's consistent. Yeah,
absolutely. Tea or coffee?
Coffee. Yeah, definitely.
Do you like real coffee, or do you like instant? I won't judge you. I'm just asking.
Sure. I regret to inform you that I am a coffee snob, and whilst I will drink instant if it's going and there's nothing else, we serve up some fairly premium grade.
Right. This is it then.
Coffee.
We love the boundary.
The air-pressed coffee is the boundary on a Saturday.
Air-pressed?
There's a pax called Odin. Odin is a wonderful character. He has an interesting job, but one of the things that he's an eclectic kind of mix of talents. So he does pottery, he paints, he does everything, but he also does artisanal coffee. He makes biltong. He's just great. And anyway, he'll rock up to the packs on a Saturday morning to a 30-30, and you have a quick burn 30, and then a fantastic coffee rama and chat after the obligatory Chatham House rules have been read out.
I mean, look, when it comes down to it, I've come close to war over coffee in F3, because I think it's good hospitality to me. And you know what? If it doesn't matter to you, it doesn't matter, and that is fine. But I do think, like tonight, because we're podcasting now, and then as soon as this is done, I'm in bed before the BD in the morning. The coffee went on early, but at tea time I was grinding the beans. I'm like, get the beans done, get the coffee made, so that in the morning when we finish at 6:15, people go, it's the different sounds. I wasn't sure, see, because we talked about the kind of the cultural thing and Japan. Because some people obviously would recognise a good cup of tea as an important thing, whether it be British tea or other teas. I mean, I'm quite up for a good cup of tea as long as it's the colour of He-Man. I don't mind. You know, it should be. It's got to be. It's got to have some body. You know, it's like if you have a biscuit. To me, a biscuit's got to be like Peter Kay says. It can't be a rich tea. You know,
No.
you need a proper a dunker, right? Although that will steal your whole brew, as Peter would say. Okay, then. Shall we move away from cheese and chocolate and move into guessing how he became Scrubs?
Yep, let's move on to the name game.
Okay.
Do you want to go first then?
No. No. I mean, I will, but no. Go on, you go first. You seem ready.
Well, there's an obvious one, and it would be that your your day job would be a surgeon of some description.
I'm actually an emergency physician rather than a surgeon. So
close enough. I'll take that.
It's not bad. Yeah.
That's good, because that makes me not have to do some really bad joke about R&B singers. So emergency physician.
Yeah.
What
I mean, it sounds
does that
very
mean?
glamorous.
Yeah, what does it mean? Tell us the kind of short version.
It basically is A&E medicine. So it's running emergency departments around. Well, yeah, I don't run loads of emergency departments. I'm a jobbing emergency physician at the Royal Surrey Hospital in Surrey, and it's the full gamut of presentations that you would get coming through that door. Some very sick, some very not sick, and some patients that need a surgical procedure, surgeon's knife, and some people that need fluids and antibiotics. And ostensibly, it's about being able to identify who is sick versus who is not sick. And if they are sick, what kind of immediate treatments do they require in terms of stabilization before we move them on? And it's a product of, I guess, managing the flow, because you're going to get a certain number of people coming through in an hour, and you've got to be able to make those decisions as early on in the patient's journey as possible. So, we are somewhat reliant upon, how many ambulances are coming, so the input side of things, how many skilled clinicians or physicians we've got on the shop floor, how many of our nurses are kind of trained up to manage the stuff, and then what is the rest of the hospital doing? So if the hospital's full, then they're all going to concertina down in our department. We're going to have to look after another ward's worth of patients. So it's a busy job, and it involves a lot of human interaction, and it often involves dealing with humans at the extremes of, pretty much the extremes of physical and mental health, and not generally because they're happy.
No.
Not many people are when they go in that door normally. So are
When was the
you
last-
on shifts, or are you day shifts? What's your working week normally look like?
It's an amalgam of, so I do a lot of, I do 50% clinical, and then the other 50% is leadership management. So I don't just look after the emergency department now, I do a division within the hospital. So I look after the medical specialities. So gastroenterology, rheumatology, cardiology, they sort of fall within my remit. And so a lot of it's about kind of looking at how we, design the systems to work better, safer, more efficiently, and obviously make sure that we're kind of preserving our core function, which is to care for people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that. I mean, I recognize they pay you, but thank you for doing that, because when people like us turn up into an A&E, whether it's an adult one or a peds one, that's the last time I was in an A&E, you never come calm. So thank you for what you know that helps people like us.
It's a pleasure, and it is a pleasure. And we do, it's a great speciality. There's not a huge amount of private work. We don't do private work. We are public servants. So we don't have you don't really see a huge amount of private A&E work around the country. It exists, but most of your emergency physicians are there. They're paid a salary from the state, and they do a great job under often quite trying circumstances.
Yeah. I think you're in my list of people no, not people groups, but you're in my list of groups of people who serve in areas where you've kind of been making bricks without straw for quite a long time. You need a lot of love and quite a bit more investment, in my view. So, yeah, sincerely, thank you. Wow, I'm glad I didn't have to guess. We can talk to you about F3 a bit now as well. I mean, we've been talking F3 here. It's been sort of coming through the capillaries, hasn't it? It's been leaking in already. I think it'd be good to ask you some questions about, yeah, your journey. Shall I start?
Knock yourself out.
Okie dokie. Do you want to talk to us about how you got EH'd into F3? When, where did you first connect in?
I was actually at a kid's birthday party, believe it or not, and I look across the way and I see a guy who looks vaguely familiar to me. And I hear him talk and I realize that he's either Zimbabwean or South African. And I'm instantly, I kind of look at him, there's something familiar about him. Anyway, I start chatting to him and we realize that he had been at school about 8 kilometers away from me in Zimbabwe when I was growing up. I knew his older brother, who was a year below me at school, at boarding school in Zimbabwe. And we get chatting and reminiscing about the Wenwees and all of that jazz. We exchanged numbers and he told me he EH'd me and said, come pitch up. So I pitched up on I think it must have been a Monday morning in, somewhere around the middle of May 2022. And the rest is history.
That was to the garden.
It was to the garden, and I believe another Zimbabwean faucet was queuing that day. And I just remember, like, the burn. I think there'd been a fair amount of Cindy work, a lot of rifle carrying, bear crawling, just stuff that I hadn't done ever.
Yeah.
You don't bear crawl, do you, in your adult life? It's
No,
not
you don't.
something that you do day to day. No.
And it was just one of those things where you just get absolutely, pumped by the ethos and the fellowship and the fact that people really actually care about how you're doing. They're encouraging you. It's countercultural. Men's exercise is very much about hitting thresholds and excelling and exceeding, but it's quite often quite sort of it's a solo effort. And whilst you may compare yourself through Strava or various other apps in order to kind of and it's sort of gamified, it's not quite the same as actually a bunch of guys really willing you over the line. And then I just remember, the quiet words of Fawcett at the end, and it just struck a chord. And you're home. You've landed. And it feels so good.
So you get to post at other AOs because it's quite a rich area, isn't it? That belt around southwest London. I'm getting my geography right.
Get your geography right.
I got seriously told off. I shared the last episode about the relationship of Reading to London, which I got quite wrong.
Yeah, it's better than just the generic. It's the north. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you drive out of London, there's just a sign that says the north, and it's like, going up. I mean, really.
But I mean, we're both Midlands boys. Obviously, Flea's in the north now, and I'm in the south. But this lot down here and his lot up there, they don't even realise the middle bit where we came from even exists. They just think it's one or the other.
Where are you from in the Midlands? Where are you from in the Midlands, Shredder?
Oh, I was from Rugby, where the game started.
Ah.
Where were you from?
Staffordshire.
Staffordshire. Stoke. No?
Uttoxeter, which is just
Uttoxeter.
10 miles east of Stoke-on-Trent.
Yes. Uttoxeter is, isn't that posher than Stoke?
Depends on the angle you look at it from. No.
Rugby is not a posh part of Warwickshire, I would say. Because obviously we have Warwick, and we have Royal Leamington Spa, and then it's Rugby, and then it's Nuneaton, and it's not the posh bits.
Was it tea, supper, or dinner for you, Flea?
My parents would say dinner and tea. I went to university and I was surrounded by a lot of people from across the country, and I've normalized now on lunch and dinner.
So what about you, though?
But everyone else up here says dinner and tea. So
dinner and tea.
Yeah, have to be adaptable.
Zimbabwean, and then have you only lived in the South in the UK?
No, I lived in Ireland for a few years actually. So I lived in Dublin for 5.5 years. I have a daughter to show for that, who is now living with me. So yeah, I had a rather sort of circuitous route into the UK. I was born in Oxford, and then my father was a teacher at Bradley College, and then decided that they'd had enough of England in the early 80s. So he chased the sun in Zimbabwe. And then I moved from Zimbabwe to South Africa. I did my medical school in Cape Town. I worked for a couple of years in South Africa, and then I got the travel bug and went to Ireland. And I was there for 5.5 years before I moved to England in 2013. And I lived in London for a while and then moved out to Surrey about 5 years ago. So yeah, it was a year before. Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah,
you did doctoring through COVID as well.
I did, but I had cancer, so I didn't actually do a huge amount of frontline work during that time. I developed bowel cancer. I'm age 39, and I had a classic doctor story. I'd been bleeding for quite some time, and I just thought, it's probably a bit of ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, but I don't feel too bad. And I ended up with a sort of just really sick over a Christmas Eve in 2019. And I just thought, no, I better go and get this checked out. And I'll never forget being in the middle of a colonoscopy and looking and seeing a tumor and knowing that it was a tumor and going, dear, my life is about to change. So I went through chemo and radiotherapy and surgery during COVID and worked remotely. So I did a lot of work around kind of creating guidelines and pathways for patients with COVID, but didn't actually see frontline work.
But you did what you could, clearly, to help.
I did. And I came back to work about 4 or 5 weeks after I'd had my surgery. I had a stoma for a while, and then that was reversed back in, can't even remember when it was now, probably 2021. It was a rough old time.
Lots of things to think about there, actually.
We were living in a small house in the middle of London. I had 3 kids.
Because of the cancer and the treatment and all that you'll have had done, does that impact in any way that you train now? Do you have any issues with things like abs or Cindy's? Because like you said, you did Cindy's and you love them, but obviously they're not light tools.
I mean, the surgery I had was keyhole surgeries. I'm actually fine in that regard. I will, without going into too many details, when you've had a stoma and then you've been rejoined up, you're never quite the same again. There are moments when you can't make it because you've just spent, a fair amount of time back and forth between the toilet. So that does happen, and that's got a lot better actually over the last couple of years. But it gave me a pitch side seat to what being a patient was like. And you can know something because you've been told it. Epistemology, someone tells you how birth is and you've seen birth happen and you can give a fairly good description of it, but you'll never know what it is until you've been through it. And I think that a large part of the journeys that we go through in life are the natural curiosity to walk someone's path. I mean, hopefully not everyone wants to get cancer and walk the path of cancer, but I think that if life throws you that kind of curveball, then walking that path or being in that state, you have 2 choices. Either you kind of shut it off and you deny the experience, or you kind of lean in and you take it forward and you grow from it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, forgive me if I ask too many questions.
No, go ahead. I'm very open book on this one.
This is not about, I mean, I'm a fairly curious person, but this is more about the sense of, so I was saying to Flea, so at the age of 51, I'm recognizing more my mortality. And this last week, one of my friends from New Zealand, who's just a little bit younger than me, died in his sleep. And I, again, having, like Flea's been on a journey of getting fitter and losing weight and getting healthy and getting into F3, I see the benefits. But when I see the mortality side of that, when someone goes, it causes me concern. And, I was posting a about to post a new Facebook advert, and I asked the AI app that I use to make me a picture, and I showed it to my AOQ this morning, fellow AOQ, and said to him, "What do you think?" And he said, "I like it." He said, "But one of the people in the picture doesn't look like he has any legs." And I said to him, I said, "Every time you ask AI to do a picture, I swear it does that for a giggle." And I said, "But that's fine, because I'll post that picture. And if anyone says, man's got no legs, I would say, you know what? You can come to F3 if you've got no legs, because we have a Pax in a wheelchair and he does a hell of a lot more than many able-bodied people. We have a Pax who's blind and just got inducted into the Football Hall of Fame. So don't think because there's a bit missing or there's a bit that somebody had to. I mean, I still think sometimes you surgeons are a bit like sort of frustrated Spitfire pilots, as I say, you surgeons, but medical surgeons. Oh, I just cut a bit off and you'll be fine, you know. And I just don't want men who are watching us to think I've had some things that have happened to me, and that means I'm not able to be part of this. You know, that's why I'm saying to you, tell us a bit more as you've done, because it makes me go, look, if you're listening and you're going, well, I've had this, I've had that, I couldn't. Come and see
Credo
what
is
you
open
can.
to all men. We're
Right.
open to all men. It's one of our 5 principles.
Exactly.
And I think one of the great kind of, I guess one of the most wonderful things about starting the boundary is that we quickly took on people in the initial phases that actually weren't fully able-bodied. So we had a victim of a skiing accident, and he's spent half his life in a wheelchair. We've had Pencil, who's 72 and had done his knee in, and then we've had a gentle one of our packs as well suffers from dementia, very early onset form, but was quite far within it, and it really kind of brought home for us the fact that there is an inflection point between being inclusive and appreciating that you want to be as inclusive as possible and adapt the exercises. But we had to do that in interesting ways because the exercises might need to change. But we also realized that some of the basic cadence calls were too much for one of the packs who had dementia. So how did we make sure that there is enough burn for everyone to actually come out the other side and feel that they've had a proper workout, but that we haven't left a man behind and in a sense just kind of accelerated and kind of left him that, you know, really struggling to put a workout together. And I think it's interesting because I think as a cultural phenomenon, we've become very, very interested in, I think, on the left side of being really inclusive. And I think we should be inclusive, but it's not inclusivity without standards. It's not inclusivity without making sure that, you know, we're still setting a standard. We're still making people strive towards that, and that we aren't kind of pushing people to be better, to be stronger, and to be, I guess, more sort of complete versions of themselves, to kind of lean into their purpose and into their destiny. So I don't know, it's a bit of a ramble, but I think that it was a real challenge because we were waiting for packs to come to the boundary. For about 2 or 3 months, it was just 3 of us. And, you know, you pitch up there Tuesday, Thursday, and Walter kind of one day went on an early morning walk and he just said, just keep chipping away, you'll uncover a diamond eventually. And it's like, building, they will come. You can flood the world with, you know, I guess with platitudes and with sort of what feels like, I don't know, it feels like you're on a hiding to nothing, but it felt true. Walter's got a real gift in that regard. And eventually they did come. And they didn't come in the way that we were expecting. But it was a grace and a blessing in many respects to get these people because they've enriched our AO. They've made it what it is. I mean, Walter always says we're a very nice AO. And yeah, I'll take that. I'd like us to be a strong AO, powerful AO, but I'll take nice. I'll take welcoming and pleasant.
Got so many questions, Flea, but I don't want to just do all the talking. Honestly, there's so much in my head
Please
now.
do. No, go for it. I can see you thinking. I can see the grey cells turning.
You can see the grey. So could you exemplify that then? If you've kind of differentiated because of different capacities in terms of what different packs can handle, Can you kind of explain that to people watching or listening? What would that look like? You know, if you called, not the whole workout, but if you called something and you said, now we're going to do X.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, you know, you can't, like a person in a wheelchair is not going to be able to bear crawl. So you now need to decide at that point, like you're going to bear crawl because bear crawling is a useful exercise. And it's certainly part of it's part of the canon of what we do with an F3. I think, you know, if you go from, you know, New York to Georgia to Surrey, you know, everyone's going to be bear crawling at some point. So what is it that you do? Well, you either speak to the packs beforehand and say, when we say this, do this, or you kind of become inclusive in your calls. So the next exercise is X was the bear crawl champ. This is the exercise over here. Starting positions, move, OYO in cadence, whatever, and exercise. And with time, what happens is that with time, champ is will find his own exercise. He's found his rhythm, and he's found ways to push, and he now cues himself. And when you've been through a champ cue, you will get an upper body workout that you will not get at any other time. So in a sense, it works to his strengths. And I think that, you know, whilst Pencil hasn't led his own workout, Pencil has just a very wise head and a very gifted communicator. And so he's become the second 30 for a lot of our 30-30s. That is the space in which he's been able to lead. And then I guess with, you know, our packs with dementia, his son came along as well. And in many respects, like, it became a process whereby he was the filter for his father, and we were his, you know, in a sense, we had an opportunity to mentor him. So it's men helping men, and there is, you know, different types of leadership that are being brought out through the beatdown and through the other aspects of F3, which are also important as well. The 30-30s are, for me, an integral part of what we do. I think that they're the opportunity for men to really open up and share. And so the ways in which we lead are not necessarily by having to cue the toughest BD, but they're in the ways that we serve each other, and they're in the ways that that other people kind of help to grow and nurture the other packs within it. So yeah, I guess I don't know if that answers your question.
Great. And so I've done a little bit of homework today. Champ's almost a centurion now. He's almost on 100 posts. I was looking at your, because I was trying to work out, and I sent Fleece a message about it. I was trying to work out, not that because size is important, but some sense of your core packs, you know, and looking at who, because my understanding is you've posted the most, according to the information I could see on the almighty spreadsheet of gloriousness, and looking at people and going, right, well, you've got this guy, and that's quite helpful. And obviously I understood, I didn't know his name was Champ, but I knew we had a guy in a chair, and I was like, and I thought that already. I was like, man, he's going to whoop your butt on an upper body workout. You know,
he does.
Right.
So Champ is an Olympian. He was he represented Team GB at the Paralympics, and I think he is an exemplar for us of everything that F3 can be. I'm very proud of him. I think he's a stand-up guy if you ever get to meet him as well. A nicer man you will not find anywhere.
I'd like to try and come down in the summer holidays and visit you guys, actually.
Be lovely to have you.
It's funny, he was a guy, when we started the Brook, we had somebody message me very grumpily because he doesn't have legs. And he said, well, I haven't got any legs, and it's for everyone, and I suppose I couldn't come then. And then he blocked me. I was so peed off about that. I'm still annoyed 9 months on nearly now that he's blocked me, because I was going to say, aha, we have this amazing guy. And he's gone, you know what? No. And my son and I were talking this week, because I don't know if you saw the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, great.
Yes, great, right? We watched a fair bit, and he said to me, Dad, I think you and Mum are overexcited about the Paralympics. And I said, I always think the parasport is better than normal sport, because normal sport is like, it's like the X-Men. They're not real. They are good, but they're not real. Whereas Paralympians are people who are normal people who've noticed that either, a signal in the brain is slower than for some people, or unfortunately there's a bit missing, and they just go, no, I am not stopping. It does not matter. And those psychopaths go down mountains without legs and down the tea tray things. And I'm just going, makes me just go, stop being such a wuss, stop being such a wet blanket some days and get on with things. So that it's so inspiring. Flea, you must talk.
Yeah, I've got a great phrase that I've heard for the first time this week. And it was a phrase used by Dredd on the Whetstone. And it's the dark kryptonite, which I'd never heard before. So that is your least preferred exercise that you like to do. Scrubs, what is your dark kryptonite?
Probably the crocodile. What do you call it now?
Crocodile
merkins. Crocodile merkins. Yeah,
those are dirty, man.
Yeah, crocodile merkins. We'll do them, but only under duress. Yeah.
What's yours, on the list. It's on the list for me. Actually, it's they're up there. I was just trying to think. Depends where in the workout stuff is. But if you said like from a cold start, go straight in and do like Mike Tyson merkins, where you rock back and then come down and then back. If you do them cold without any warm up, they are horrible on your thighs.
Yeah.
And anything hill sprints.
Navy SEAL burpees are pretty rough as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
I like a burpee.
There's quite a few varieties on those Navy SEAL burpees, isn't there? You're going up and down and back and forward.
Like I really hate uphill crawl bears.
Ooh, good call. Like we don't have many hills in Surrey. Well, we do have the Surrey Hills, but a lot of these places are quite flat.
Yeah, if you're on a cricket pitch, you're not really got much hills, have you?
No.
I was thinking about Newlands Corner. The hills.
Oh, good call. Actually, that would be a pretty brutal one to give, wouldn't it?
We did some uphill. I can't remember which Muppet suggested it, but we did some on the Bala Day where we ended up crab walking up part of the Newlands Corner hill. It was not. That was just after we did that weird. Have you ever done that elephant chain thing?
Yes.
Right. It's one of the stupidest. And I think I remember talking about in a previous episode where two of the young guys on the Bala Day were unhappy with the fact that there was two pretty young girls standing there watching us whilst we were elephant chain walking. I definitely went into dad mode then. I was like, let's just do it right in front of them. So cool.
I remember there is something around kind of mutual humiliation that is very good for building like a team ethos. I mean, if you've walked, with that elephant in chain thing, you really don't have any option at that point. Your ego is somewhere kind of 2 feet below the ground and it isn't going to resurface for quite some time. But I guess if you're under the ground with a few packs, then it just makes it slightly more bearable, doesn't it? Do you remember that time?
It's funny, isn't it? The things. I think the first time I heard the cadre say, "We're now going to do this," I was a bit nervous, and then they explained, and I went, "Okay." And then when we did it, I was actually going, you know what? There's far worse exercises in the universe than this. This is silly. And that's good for our souls, a bit of silly sometimes. Okay, I don't blame you with those crocodile merkins at all. First time I did them at the Way on Father Fitmas between the lamp posts. You've posted at the Way, haven't you? You both have now, yeah?
Yeah, I did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, there you go. And we did crocodile merkins between the 4 stages of lamppost there, and that was not friendly. That was not, Okay, then. So the antithesis of that, then. So what's your wheelhouse? What's your strongest exercise?
Probably murder bunnies. Yeah. In terms of the exercise I can do that I don't struggle with so much. Yeah. Yeah, definitely that probably. And I don't mind a walk crab actually.
Okay. As in crab walk backwards?
Yeah.
Have you ever done crab walk Cindy drag? Yeah. It's really good at taking the skin off the back of your ankle. It's good for that. If you're feeling like you have too much skin on your ankles,
I can see how that would be good. Yeah.
that's a Chalks from the bridge. I attribute that monstrosity to Chalks. Maybe someone else, but he was the first person that ever did crab walk, Cindy, drag. It's no.
No, it doesn't.
That's going to be a good hamstring exercise, actually. I can see how that'd be value adding.
The push, like you say, the crab walk, Cindy push is, that's a challenge.
I've never heard anyone called an exercise value adding before. I'm going to have to put this into my lexicon for sure.
Get on with it, boys. This is value adding.
Yeah.
Value adding those hamstrings. I might drop it in on Friday. I'm queuing on Friday at the mansion.
My issue with the crab walk, Cindy push is because I have cartilage damage on my right leg. I end up having to do almost all the pushing with my left. And so I kind of don't like that. The drag doesn't tax, although it does make my hamstrings sing quite a lot. I did murder bunnies 2 weeks ago at the weir and that's what I inflamed my lower back on when I put my back out 2 weeks ago. I've never had that before in murder bunnies. I'd say I love them. I agree with you. They're fab. But
Did you go to A&E after you sorted your back out like that?
No, there was 20 minutes to go on the workout and I didn't do the flutter kicks with the cinder block in the air. I did another round of the murder bunnies because it was just tweaked. I was like, I've hurt that just down here, and then finished the workout. And then, it kind of came out about 6 hours later, and my wife was very unhappy on Saturday. She had to carry her own shopping. I broke my wedding vow on that Saturday, to have and to hold. So she has me and I hold everything she says. She's not happy. She forewarned me on Thursday night when she said, "Are you posting tomorrow?" She's using the lingo, and I said yes. Said, "If you hurt your back, there'll be trouble." And I'm like, "I'll do my best." She's a kind keeper. She looks after me. Okay, good. So
I've got a question.
Kryptonite. Yeah, go on, go for it.
Who are you looking to target next to EH into F3?
I'm always looking to target packs, to be honest with you. I did actually EH someone last week. It's one thing to EH them to come the first time, but how do you now keep them coming back a second time, particularly when they're in crisis? So, I often think that, the ultimate hand reach out to the drowning man is to come to a beatdown. But you can't guarantee that one pull is always going to be enough to get them out the soup. So you've got to keep pulling. And I think that there is a subtle art of being gentle and maintaining constant pressure to pull them out and jerking too hard and risking losing your grip. So I think that some packs are in good space when you EH them, and they come because they come joyfully. And you get other packs that come grudgingly, and knowing how to, in a sense, give F3 to people is very much a question of how you wrap the gift. And I think that, I think sometimes one of the mistakes that we kind of make, or certainly that I've used to make, was just you see that it's so good for you, so you just assume that it's going to be good for everyone, and it isn't. And whilst I do believe F3 is for all men, the ways in which people perceive it is important. And they may not always necessarily take it from where it comes or necessarily see the value at the beginning.
I have a follow-up question.
Shoot.
Does your day job, your work, and your ability to look at someone and to assess them, because you were talking about assessing people according to, this kind of the needs that they have. Do you think when you see people that helps you to understand how you approach them then if you're trying to EH them? Does it benefit you?
Yeah, I mean, I do worry sometimes that after years of doing this job, I've turned into a quasi-psychopath, because you learn to meet people where they're at, and you read so much into the way that people say things or the way that they come across that you become quite astute at being able to form connection quickly, and also to be able to assess distress based upon your kind of heuristic assessment. So you kind of develop a gut feel for how things work or where they're actually at. And you often know based upon that how to deliver care or how to kind of communicate with them. And I think that that's a tool. that's in the armamentarium of any emergency physician. And bear in mind that we're a type, like GPs, we see a lot of people. We see new people every day, because we don't have regular clients in the way that, you know, a lot of people have their own patients, like in kind of some of the specialities. So I think it helps being able to make instant connection. And I think that you are in possession of, we're in very kind of unique position of power because people trust, because there is a trust that kind of forms during that interaction. And I think that that does help when it comes to drawing people into F3, because you begin to, you get a sense of who they are and where they're at in their journey. I think often asking a lot of questions. I think, you know, as a younger man, or certainly I would sort of have been a lot more about, like, let me tell you about this great stuff and what I've learned. And I think that often Socratics and where you at, how you doing, tell me more about what's going on in your life, draws people out, and it makes them, it lays the ground for the suggestion in ways that, you know, a kind of a more sort of, I guess, direct evangelism may not always work.
Very well phrased, that. Very well phrased. Yeah, you've got to understand that the guys you're talking to have got to be in receive mode to what you're talking about. If they're not in that receive state, it's pointless. That could be the longest EH ever. But as soon as there's that glimmer of a receive, and through that questioning, that active questioning, you'll determine when that is. That's it. That's the point. Then they're willing to listen to what you've got to say. It's a very extremely valid point. And
as a man who's been through therapy with his, I think one of the most valuable things that our therapist ever talked about was something called the window of tolerance. And when you are in the window of tolerance with your M, you can have a fairly frank discussion about a difficult topic, because you are settled, there's trust, there's love, and you are able to communicate your perspective or your thoughts or your take. When you're outside the window of tolerance and someone's got a whole bunch of adrenaline circulating through their veins, they're either going to freeze and just nod, or you may get a more sort of flagrant rejection of what you're trying to offer. And whilst I don't say that every kind of EH is about having a relationship with your M, it's not comparable, but I think in many respects, the way that we talk to people, we need to get them into that window of tolerance. So when you're, you know, your offer of F3 needs to come when you've actually met them, when you've listened, and when you've served them. Because if we're about service, we're about serving the needs of men now, as they are, raw, in whatever state they may find themselves. And you are far more likely at the end of the day to bring people in if you're actually being a friend to them in the way that they need you to be a friend.
Should we move on to some £1 million questions, or do you want to explore a bit more?
I can always sneak back. I've got a.
Should have still in on Kylie versus Dani.
There's no look, it's fine if people think Kylie's better than Dani. I mean, you know, I could join you, but then we'd both be wrong. So it'd be, you know, it's fine. I understand why one of my best friends thinks Kylie Minogue is great, you know, and I'm the one that wears glasses. The one.
I'd like to cast my mind back to 2 weeks ago when we had Shed on, and one of my £1 million questions to him: what's your favourite way to eat a potato?
Skinny fries would be mine.
Skinny fries? Skinny
fries, yeah. The quick sort of second, I guess, to a good duck fat roasted potato. Yeah. Parboiled, fluffed up with a bit of flour, and then put into a hot tray of heated goose fat. Yeah.
Okay. I saw somebody deep frying gnocchi the other day in a picture, and it looked like they came out and they looked a bit like nuggets.
Yeah.
You know, like chicken nuggets. And they did look good, but that's still a potato abomination in my view. Your roasties, you know, your short, I'll say this is your short, Flea. The short of Yorkshire pudding recipe has got a lot of views. I think there's a lot of American packs out there now going,
what's that?
I can't say Worcestershire, but I'll have a go at Yorkshire puddings.
Yorkshire pudding.
Okay, I've got a simple one. What are you reading at the moment?
There's a highbrow
Proofs?
answer and a lowbrow answer.
Or
I'm
both of them?
generally reading. I generally read. I've got about 20 books on the go at any one time, so I read quite a lot and I dip in and dip out.
So not for work, not for work.
for pleasure.
Some of those 20.
No.
Yeah.
For pleasure. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So I'm always kind of dipping in and dipping out of Russian classics. So I read quite a lot of Dostoevsky, and I have learnt sort of Russian over the years, and I'm a big fan of, particularly the 19th century Russian canon, but also some of the more contemporary stuff. There's an author called Victor Pelyevin, who, if you haven't read, you should, because he is incredible. He manages to combine a sort of all the great sort of traditions of Russian 19th century writing with a bit of Zen Buddhism, a bit of sort of apocalyptic fiction. It's an absolute feast of writing and thought-provoking content. Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you read Cyrillic?
I can read Cyrillic, yeah.
Yeah, wow, fantastic.
Yeah, it's been interesting because I sort of started my journey with Russian sort of shortly before the Ukraine. Well, actually, no, it was a couple of years before the Ukrainian conflict. I've got some very good Russian friends, some of whom have drunk the Kool-Aid, but are still, in my view, great humans who have given me a lot over the years. So I think that one has to distinguish between, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all humans, and the Russian people have suffered in the past century in ways that we can't begin to imagine. And it has produced a literary base that is just incredible and continues to give.
It's awesome.
Hmm.
I'll have to ask you how to spell that man's name off air, and I'll have to go and have a look
Dostoevsky.
because
Pelyevin.
not Dostoevsky, the Pili book.
Victor Pelyevin, yeah, honestly, a brilliant writer. I think he's in hiding now because he's been kind of targeted by the regime as being a bad one.
Well, if you can top someone with poison dart frog in the UK and you're not a fan of what's happening, I would go in hiding too, because even in the last few days, I would say the conventions of what seems to be acceptable in our world at the moment are liberalized in a way that I think should concern everyone.
Yeah. I think, you're so right. And, I think, again, to draw upon a great 20th century Russian author called Vasily Grossman, and if anyone looks at my Twitter handle, which I haven't used for about 4 years, I have a picture of Vasily as my avatar. But he was basically an embedded journalist during Stalingrad, and then as the Russian army pushed west during the last years of the war, and he was present at the kind of liberation of a number of the kind of the death camps. And he also manages to describe situations in which the two sides meet in ways of where there should be no good reason why a Russian woman whose house and whose entire village has been sacked by Germans should show kindness to a starving German soldier. But she does it. She gives him her bread. She clothes him. She gives him a blanket. And he describes the scene in one of his novels. And he says that is the greatest, in a sense, act and middle finger to tyranny. That when we choose to be good to our fellow man or fellow woman in the midst of everything going wrong, when you've got extremes of the right and on the left, extremes on the right of Hitler and the extreme left of Stalinism, kind of basically being a kind of massive set of, I guess, I don't know, word escapes me, but when you're squeezed in that way between those two, vice to vice, when you're squeezing a vice like that, and everything is just desolation, and these places have been laid waste, that the human decision at that point to be kind and to do right, to be good, has overcomes tyranny in that moment. And so I think that that's something that we take into this, what is going to almost certainly be a very topsy-turvy world over the next year or two. We have no idea what's going to happen here in the UK. We've got no idea what's going to happen in Europe.
No, I know.
And one of my big thing, it's not my big thing at all. It's just one of the, I don't know, realizations I've had recently is we're going to be okay because there are good men. and good women out there, and we're going to look after each other. And whatever comes, I mean, that sounds very kind of scary, but I think we just we've got to hold on to that. We're gonna look after each other. We're not going to be overcome by the political whims of Whitehall, of Westminster, or of Washington, or Tehran, or whatever like that. We're going to continue to do the right thing. We're going to be good to each other.
Dark Helmet keeps saying this hold the middle. Him and Dredd talk
Hold the
about
middle.
that a lot.
Yeah,
Hold the middle.
100%. Hold the middle.
And they're right.
I think I said right. Yeah.
Go on.
No. You. I think. Like, carry on. I mean, I think you're onto something there.
All I was going to say was a couple of podcasts ago, I mentioned using that as the sermon theme in our Christmas carols by candlelight service, just because the extremes push everything to the out. And whether it's when you were a kid and you did the centrifugal thing with the water in a bucket, and you spin the bucket round and the water gets pushed to the outside, the force of extremism is not just pushing people out to the edge, but it's also making them judge everyone who's not their version of extreme as wrong, as different. And I think that call for us as men to hold the middle, yeah, and not just men, but men and women, we need to come back.
I think I think you're so right, Shredder. I'm sorry to cut across you there, and I think of our brothers in America right now, because things are even more sort of frayed in the sort of political sphere there. And you're going to surely have packs that are Republican and packs that are Democrat and vote either way. But in many respects, F3 should be where the conversation is at and where we meet each other, as men and as people that
you're 30-30
are on a mission to, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So that's what are you reading? Have you got another? I mean, not that was that small, but have you got another one, Flea? Another £1 million question or not?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Go on.
Just thinking about life beyond the gloom. What's the best thing that you've done because of F3?
Probably my walk last year around the Isle of Wight with a few other lads. I wouldn't have done that. I didn't walk the whole way around the island, but it was magic. Just plodding away of a morning through the rain, so cold, so utterly kind of bedraggled, carrying a chain with a brick on it, because that's exactly what Safari would ask us to carry. And having realized that we hadn't had any breakfast, coming across a small little town and invading this poor cafe and having a proper full English cup of tea. And I think we had ice cream or something like that after 10 o'clock in the morning. It was just brilliant. Changing out of wet shoes into warm shoes, and then continuing in much better weather for the rest of the morning, eating biltong and just talking. I would say that would, as a seesaw, that was probably right up there. Man, in those moments, don't you just feel gratitude for your brothers? It's just like you go through the whole sort of range of relationship, child rearing, work, mortality. You hear stories about people that you've been working out with for ages, but you learn more about their personal history. I think it's amazing. It was a wonderful experience.
Fantastic. It's great when you've got the bunch of guys together and, again, existing F3 packs, if you all get out and do fellowship together. I have seen that you're planning a second F event in June, Dads and Kids event, if I read my
Dad
band
camping
post correctly. Yeah. Tell us about that. What's your plan?
I mean, I have a friend who kind of suggested we do this a few years back, and we've been doing it every year. But actually, I thought this is something we should bring to F3. So yeah, I think we'll probably head off for somewhere on the coast. West Wittering is looking good. Pitch up on a Friday afternoon. And yeah, maybe hang out for a bit of spag bowl in the evening, a couple of beers, beach the next day, or perhaps a place of historical interest, pub lunch, good walk, barbecue / braai if you're South African in the evening. Enjoy the hopefully decent British weather in the middle of June, and then next day another walk and a pub lunch and drive back. It would be fantastic to have some packs from the north, but I'm sure that's quite a trek for you guys just for a couple of days.
We need to put out the information though, don't we?
Yeah, let's put it out. Yeah, throw it out. I mean, there's they do a very similar concept, and I've heard about it in one of the other podcasts where they do a lads or kids and dads camp, and there's hundreds of F3 packs that go to the kids, and they have a whole weekend or week of activities and beat downs, and yeah, it sounds fantastic. So really great idea. Maybe Scrub to coordinate that, and it's a good example of something that we can do to bring the families together, the wider F3 family outside of the packs.
It might be worth doing it somewhere in the Midlands, given that that's sort of halfway between. So why don't we look to try and do something like that in the next year or so, and bring the Birmingham packs, the Leeds packs, and London. I think it'd be a nice thing to do.
Yeah, almost like a family convergence type of thing.
Yeah, family convergence, somewhere nice, big spots, and yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Our first 4 30/30s in the Brook, we did on Fatherhood. I wanted to try and, once it was clear that all of the packs had got kids, and we'd spent about 4 months without any 30/30s, just working out, getting together. We dropped them in. And one of the things that came out of that was this desire to do something with our 2.0s with the kids. And it's funny, I'd heard Dredd talk about the relationship. And he said in one of the Whetstone ones, he said, it's the only relationship that's unbreakable for a man. You have kids, it's unbreakable. And I was listening to the packs in the book, and I said to them, perhaps we could do something with our 2.0s. Now, in my old church, I started this dads and kids breakfast, and that turned into camping. And actually, I know a place near Salisbury, and some of us used to go down to this church. It's got a big sort of camping area behind the back of the building. It's very cheap. It's a bit further than West Wittron, but it's very cheap. And what we've talked about doing is through the summer, about a once a month rug, and we'll probably call it F3 Unbreakable or something. And part of that would include at least trying to find one location in your region. So my initial suggestion was potentially Alice Holt, because between Surrey and Sussex and Surrey and London borders, there's a lot of us with kids, and I'm so kind of up for this when other packs are saying I want to try and help my kids, because if we wait till they're adults, we've lost them. And they're not doing our beat downs because that's not for them. But there's your camping event. Do you know the dates?
It'll be 12 to 14.
It's the same weekend as Download, so I'm camping that weekend, but not with my kids. It'll be slightly loud music festival.
You're a great man for ideas and for getting stuff done, and I think it's wonderful to have the energy that you brought to F3 and you too, Flea, doing something like this, but also just getting the word out there and just doing it. A lot of us spend time thinking about doing it.
Just get on with it. Let's get
on with it. Yeah.
Get on with it. You stole my £1 million question, by the way, Flea. I'm just saying.
Which one?
I wrote that down here. Look,
yeah.
It's on my notes here. Look, what was the best thing that you've done? See? That's it.
I saw that and I thought, that's a really good question, that. I'm going to ask that.
Isn't it?
I must have had a moment of inspiration when I wrote it and forgot about it.
Well, I have another question, which I call it today's £1 billion question. And it's, what lessons are you learning in life at the moment?
I had a coach last year, and she was very helpful for me in many respects. But one of the biggest one was the difference, the gap between impact and intent. And I think that in many respects, like, you see people getting massively unstuck by saying, well, I didn't mean to, I didn't intend to. And we all come into this world with our nature, and through life and through the experience that we have, we develop a way of being and existing within the world. And we develop ways of navigating relationships, ways of navigating work, ways of parenting that are often, in a sense, hardwired into who we are. And there are times when we're in our flow state and we really feel that we're having an impact and we're making the world work. And there are other times when we're really trying and we're trying to make a difference, but things are not landing the way they should. And sometimes they actually have very negative effects. In fact, your best intentions can be seen in a very negative way, or the way that you frame something, or the way that you sort of package something to someone really doesn't land in the way that you would like it to. And you're faced with a very difficult choice at that point of either blaming them or accepting that you have caused suffering or pain to another person, and that you need to understand that that is the impact that you've had. And either you take the lesson in humility and you say sorry unconditionally, or you persist in your folly. And in my professional environment, I ended up as kind of the focus of the grievance. I thought very unfairly. And as it turned out, I think a fair amount of it was unfair, but I had to understand that there were humans at the end of some of the changes that I was trying to bring who felt excluded, who didn't feel consulted, who felt hurt, and who felt upset by some of the things that I was doing. And it hurt. It hurt to know that. It hurt to feel the pain of the grievance, to feel the injustice, to feel all of those things, but then to have a decision once the grievance had passed without sanction, to bring about rapprochement and catharsis in that relationship, because I still needed them. And so whilst there was never any great kind of kumbaya moment or decision to, let's hug it all out and forgive each other, deciding in that moment to forgive and just to move on. So it's the intent impact gap that my coach was talking about, but I think kind of applies here. And I think that it applies for all of us. We don't know how we come across all the time. And when it doesn't land well, that's not there may be shame. There may be shame in that, but how you deal with that shame, you either bury it and hurt that other person back for inflicting upon you, or you forgive. And not just I forgive you, but you let it percolate through yourself. You feel it, and then you choose. And I think that that's where growth comes from.
£1 billion. Good.
That's why they're called £1 billion. They do tend to give very deep and very profound answers. Yeah, no, thank you for that, Scrubs. It was, certainly one I'm going to take away and think about for sure. Should we move on to some announcements, shall we?
Yes, my announcement is I didn't have time to collate a list of FNGs because it's been a little bit busy, and I'm just going to put my hand up and say sorry about that, but we will do some welcome homes next episode. But there are a couple, I think there's about 4 that I know of, but I don't remember all their names, so I'm really sorry. But I will say that 2 of the packs that have joined in the last few weeks are both respect age. So fair play to those bad boys. They are in their 60s and coming to smash it with the rest of us. So hats off to them, because it will happen to us all one day. We'll all be respect age. We have the Convergence CSUP, 3 Peaks, the first Saturday of June coming up. We have a lot of boys from Surrey, Sussex, Surrey, London Borders and Berkshire this month running the Surrey Half Marathon, which is really cool. So T-claps to them for the training that's going in. And also in early May, we have, I think, 79 of us doing a 15K Tougher Mudder, which includes being electrified, tear gassed, and other things. And that's just the Warmerama. So there's those bits for me. What about you, Flea? Have you got other announcements?
Some bits. There is the poll that's gone out on the F3 UK band for the UK Convergence 2026. So that's been thrown out there. So please have a look on there. If you haven't already done so, please put your availability on there.
Milton Keynes.
It looks like Milton Keynes. The guys are getting on with it. Planning it. I did have a recce at the site because I was passing Milton Keynes. So I did go up and take a video around the site, and it looks pretty good, pretty decent. So, and it's quite central as well. So it's close enough to the south to get enough of the southern packs there to make it populous, hopefully. And it doesn't make that much difference from the north. versus where we were last time. So yeah, it should work. Should work fine.
Can I just put a quick plug for Maybank Holiday Weekend? There's we're doing an F3 third F event in Surrey. Harvesters basically set up there's a track, 800-meter track. Plan is to go 200 times around that track. So I think it's going to be circa around 100 miles. You can nominate packs to do certain activities as they go around, and we are looking for sponsorship for a charity for one of the packs whose sister sadly passed last year from cancer. I think the Fountain is the name of the charity. We'll be doing a barbecue, and Shira's meat is delicious. And all M's and 2.0s welcome. It should be a really festive event. The more money we can raise for this charity, the better.
Sounds like an opportunity for Harvester to make people do things with his immense tyres.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing to have carried up Newlands Corner Hill.
Can I just give a shout out to that PAX, because
Yes.
I've watched Harvester over the years go from a quiet achiever to being just such a front and center pillar of what we're trying to do in F3. He humbles me with what he gets done, what he achieves, and just what a good human he is. So, Harvester, if you're watching, love you, man.
I think that's very kind and fitting, especially as Shed dropped the bomb on him last episode and wouldn't name him as his best friend.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Yeah, no. I think I was kind of vaguely aware of the joy in his life as he threw these 400-pound tyres at us or something at Newlands Corner, and very nice guy, and I hear nothing but love about him. So yes, that's very nice. Thank you for saying that. We need to share that event really, because I try to keep an eye on what you guys have got going on in Surrey and Sussex, but so far I'd missed that, and we definitely should. Is it a thing where we can decide what other packs do? Like, could I?
Yeah, you can nominate. So you can say
Nice.
800
that's what the
meters.
flutter.
Right, so
Broad jump burpees.
Everyone,
Broad jump burpees.
everyone's-
800 meters of broad
everyone's
jump burpees. Yeah.
I want Walter to crab walk Cindy drag for 100 miles. Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant.
Other bits and bobs. A few other quick events. Yeah, May 10th, I think it is, Leeds Half Marathon. So again, we've got Yorkshire packs entering that too, up the north side.
Done. Keep training, brother.
I am training. I was listening to the latest High Impact Man today on my road trip with work, and it's the one with Flash. Yeah, excellent episode, really good. Anyway, DFib was talking about, for him, it's new trainer day, and he was getting a new pair of running trainers, which is the same for me. Mine are arriving tomorrow morning, so I'm super excited about that. That's it. That's my announcement.
Very exciting. I said to Flea the other day, Scrubs, I was listening to a kind of podcast, but a YouTube podcast, and they were talking about some of the new Chinese brands of trainers. And although I have two, I call them Saucony because I'm not cool enough to know the real name for the company. But I've got two pairs of these very nice Saucony Hurricanes. Saucony, if you want to send me more, I'll just send you my name. But apparently the Chinese are now getting into the trainer market in a way that all of our very expensive companies should be in fear and dread about, because they're making carbon fiber plated trainers for like 80 to 100 pounds instead of 250 to 300 or 400 pounds. And if that's something that you care about, which probably isn't something we care about, no. But that's pretty amazing. Anyway, okay, well, look, double header here. 2 Surrey and Sussex packs back to back. We've kind of underrepresented you, but last week or 2 weeks ago we had Shed and his curtain, which was a special treat. It was a really nice interview, and this has been a really good time with you. So thank you for coming in, Scrubs, and sharing with us. We could talk easily about so many other things. We didn't have enough capacity to perhaps to ask every question that's possible, but thank you for the gift of sharing with us and your thoughtfulness and your insight into be in a pax and just keep going. And nice is a great thing for an AO to be. I think there are AOs around there who could aspire to be as nice as you guys are being, and that is a blessing to the men around the boundary, I'm sure.
Guys, thank you for having me on. It was really nice to chat, and really thank you for the opportunity. Keep doing what you guys are doing as well. It's really great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and
You're
I keep
welcome.
watching your Instagram posts coming up every time. It's always the F3 the boundary.
Yeah,
keep
no,
popping up.
I'm getting flooded with Billingshurst at the moment, you know.
Yeah, Billingshurst is starting as well. And honestly, Cracker, the current AOQ is really good and really has cracked it. Cracker he's just and Gloves, Cracker and Gloves are really on it. They could teach us all a lesson how to get the message out.
Excellent.
Chaps,
Excellent.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. Look, Flea, do you want to outro us?
Yeah, thank you again, Scrubs. And again, we welcome feedback. We are looking to hit another region in the next 2 weeks. So Shredder and I will be bringing on someone from an unknown destination at the moment, somewhere a bit more north than Rudwick. North. So yeah, that's it for 2 weeks' time. So yeah, thank you for listening. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time from everyone in the UK, F3 UK, and from the Cadence team.
Aye.
Aye.
Au revoir.
Au
See you
revoir.
later. Wow. You should really go out Russian. Come on, you can.
Yeah.
Do svidaniya, or whatever it is.
До свидания.
There you go.
Dobranoc. Dobranoc.
Do a shot of vodka now.
До здоровья.
Na zdrowie.
Well, I know.